This is Far Cry 6, the latest entry in the long-running open-world, crazy over-the-top action and explosion-filled mayhem fest that is, well, basically Far Cry. If you're wondering about the third person, that just happens to particularly be certain areas of the game. You go into like a third-person perspective, and also the cutscenes are now in third person, so that's a bit of a change up if you're used to that. So what we're getting here on Xbox Series X is a 4K resolution, I believe dynamic 4K resolution at 60 FPS with HDR support, and it looks absolutely fantastic. We're getting a nice little bit of a sunrise here after a stormy night. And yeah, it's got dynamic day-night cycles with weathering impacts as well, and it's just an absolutely massive game. This is also installed with the kind of HD texture pack and the day one update. So I do suggest downloading the texture pack, as it will greatly improve the visual quality and fidelity of the experience, and it is something that I do highly suggest checking out, because again, I think it adds a lot to the experience, and I think it makes it look fantastic. So we get great draw distances and a fantastic sense of scale, what is mostly the most Far Cry game we've ever seen. It's big. It's filled with tons of activities and things for you to do. And yeah, it feels almost endless just in terms of the amount of content. You start out in this little area here, and then you go off into the world, going through different areas, meeting different colorful individuals, and battling against the ultimate bad guy, Antón Castillo. He's got a kid, the heir to the whole throne of Yara, the land that you're battling for, and basically that dynamic was really cool as you kind of watch the son get these details and this information of how to run, a place like this, but he's also very hesitant in regards to following in his father's very bloody and intensely deep footsteps. So yeah, it's kind of wild, the things you can do, the places you can see, and just the amount of activities. Like, it is really, really big. It feels literally almost endless, and I think that's kind of crazy to think about as these Far Cry games continue to get bigger and bigger. It's absolutely wild. And of course, as per usual, you can do all kinds of different things as you traverse the environment. You can use your fun wingsuit. You can use vehicles. There's horseback, which we'll show later. You can kind of go on the ocean on ski-doos. There's boats. There's trucks. You can kind of call in some trucks on demand too, which is kind of cool as well. And yeah, it is just big. It's exciting. And there's, again, just like a ton of activities that you could take part in. It is crazy just how big this game is, and it's wild. But yeah, if you are familiar with the Far Cry series, you're going to feel right at home here, and maybe even more at home if you enjoyed some of the earlier, more tropical types of locations. I think this is definitely a bit of a return to form in that regard. It definitely brings a location that you feel you've maybe been to in the past, and it's gorgeous. Seriously, like I've mentioned, it looks fantastic. And it's filled to the brim with detail, which is really quite exciting. Another neat change, and again, some mechanics have been adjusted slightly, but it very much is the same experience, is you can now tackle areas with a bit more stealth. You can actually be creative in the environment and try not to alert your enemies. Obviously for me, everything always devolves into a big firefight, but you know what I'm saying, you can actually sit here and you can tactfully kind of go through the environment and, take out your enemies and not sound the alarms and, battle away, and I feel that is more expansive than it's ever been in the previous entries. So yeah, the game is, like I mentioned, fantastic, and you can now capture that kind of style with a brand new photo mode. That's right, go nuts with the photo stuff. There's all kinds of different changing and adjustments you can make, facial expressions too. Go nuts, have fun. I always like mentioning the photo modes in case you're into that, and you can just see that there's all these different adjustments you can make. It's a cool thing. It's a nice little thing to have available. But yeah, like I mentioned, the vibrancy of the world is just fantastic. The gunplay feels basically the exact same as the other Far Cry games. You just get more crazier weapons and tools to take advantage of as you shred, slash, dash, and decimate your opponents and anyone that tries to get in your way. I did find that it was a little bit harder to take care of things such as helicopters, especially early on, as it seems harder to get more explosive type things I've noticed in this one. And I don't know if other people will notice that as well. But yeah, I find that the helicopters, and there's also like tanks, seem to be a bit more troublesome to battle against in this one, just again due to the lack of those particular weapons being available right off the bat. But yeah, you can cause big booms. There is a bit of a level type system. So you notice that kind of bar just went across and it set a level. So if you go to different areas, they have different like ranks to them, and that kind of dictates where you're kind of heading. I mean, it doesn't limit you, but it opens up new quests for you to take part in and new activities for you to do as you go to these different areas and you battle off against foes. And there's so many side activities, so many things you can blow up, places you can take over, places you can explore. There's hunting, there's fishing. It's just wild. You can repair your vehicles, you do a little bit of casting and whatnot. You could call in vehicles too on the fly to kind of give you a ride, which is a nice touch. And you get a ton of tools, and you can expand these tools in interesting ways. You also get a pet that you can enjoy. Nah, maybe not a pet, but you get, you know, some amigos, and you can have them kind of fight with you. There's apparently this rooster thing that's like very, very powerful. Definitely worth checking out. At least that's one of my pals had mentioned. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And it's kind of a little bit wild just in terms of the scale. Now, they didn't necessarily evolve on too many of the mechanics of the game. It very much is your typical Far Cry experience, right? Big open place, you battle against enemies, you take on different challenges, you do lots of side missions, you find caches, you know, that sort of thing. But I do think they actually focus a bit more on the narrative in this one. Like I mentioned, this game is insanely massive. It is so big. I actually can't even believe it sometimes. And I know I've mentioned it and repeated it multiple times because I still am just like almost overwhelmed at times in terms of the scale and just the amount of scope that is present here. And it all like renders really beautifully. I didn't have any performance issues or anything like that. Sometimes the cutscenes, or not the cutscenes, sorry. Sometimes the checkpoints could be a little bit brutal. It seems to take you far away from where you are if you die at times, and that could be a little bit annoying. But, you know, for the most part, it just ran very perfectly well. It looks really good. Each area, as you can tell, is filled with little smaller details, and, you know, you can go to, like, places where regular people are living, like civilians, and you could see them kind of living their lives to a degree, and I think that kind of adds to the immersion. And it's got all the silly quirks and style of the Far Cry series that you probably have come to expect. And it's gory, and it's violent, and it's crazy. And it's got some new little toys that, again, are a lot of fun. So we kind of just showed that off there, and that's like a Supremo type thing. So let's jump into the menu and talk about that a bit more. Oh, that's the the journal. We want the arsenal. So you get these Supremo things, and that's where I'm able to burst kind of side to side. But you can pick different things that kind of improve or give you different abilities. And then there's a bit of a gear system, but it's not really what you think it might be. It's just kind of different gear. It gives you different advantages, and it kind of customizes your character a little bit. So they're just things to kind of earn and play with. And then for guns, you can go to a workbench, and you can customize your guns. You can see there's like different mods I have on it, and you can put different modifications, you can put different attachments, you can put on some charms, there's some little, you know, gun skin type things, lots of different weapons to play with. You know, as you could tell, like, you know, more intense weapons here, like the launcher stuff, rifles, some machine guns, light machine guns, you know, bows, rockets, everything you want. Big booms, big explosions, have fun with it, go nuts. Then there's the Amigo system, which I mentioned. You get a bunch of different pets that you can use. Well, I don't know, pals, pets, whatever you want to call them. Different rides, which again, customization's a big thing here. You can customize the various rides you have in certain ways, which is kind of cool. And then inventory, you know, you get your supplies, you get your other stuff, tradables, you know, you get your various hunting things. You kind of just walk over stuff, you don't skin them anymore, just in case you're wondering. Tons of collectibles and charms and hidden secrets and things to find in the game. You know, kind of expected, right? And it's just a crazy large world to do all of this within. It's seriously wild. You just get so much choice in how you tackle scenarios and the different threats and things that you have to play against. And there's a bit of a, I want to say like a GTA type trespassing system. No, not trespassing system, that's a terrible way to call it. Anger type system. So the more chaos you kind of inflict, the more intense the sort of foes that are coming right here. You get special forces coming after you, and you kind of have to deal with that as you battle more and more intense enemies as they get really angry that they're like, hey, yo, you are causing problems, and we don't like it. So going back to the narrative aspect of the game, I think they picked a lot more of a mature sort of style to it. Why are we not? Oh, geez, we are on fire. Yeah, okay, that did not work out. I mean, they're a gunship. Last time we just drove right by and I got to keep talking anyways. Like I was saying, there is a bit more of a mature theme to this, especially right off the bat. You notice this like really intense situation where, hey, this is a war that's going on. This is a battle that's happening, and you kind of find yourself in there. You're playing as Dani Rojas, and you kind of get to, I guess you could pick male or female. It doesn't really impact any of the story as far as I'm aware. I chose the latter. It seems more canonical to the game, apparently. I don't know. I really did sit there and debate it. It doesn't really matter, though. But like I mentioned, third-person cutscenes and stuff like that. So that, might impact your opinion of it. And I thought it was just something that I should mention. Let's fast travel to somewhere a little bit more dangerous and go do the gunship thing there. And also show off the loading of the game, which is quite fast considering this is something that is really big and, is open world. So you get that next-gen loading there, which is nice. Hello. How are you doing? So let's give ourselves a note to go and take out the giant explosive thing. There's different challenges, too. Things where you have to clear areas, find hidden treasures, all that kind of stuff. All that jazz. I don't know if I want to walk there. Maybe we should actually take the ATV, and there's usually music on the radio that you can enjoy as you drive around. But yeah, story-wise, I thought it was really neat seeing the dynamic of the father and son kind of, dealing with the different scenarios and their opinions on things, and basically this really different type of story experience, if that makes sense. Like, they really tried to sort of push that more. You've got a rich variety of side stories with different characters that you can witness as they kind of go through these winding tales, these different, like I mentioned, colorful characters that you meet across your journeys, and you can kind of work with them, and you do all these crazy things, and there was a really good variety of different actions and things you could do just in terms of like what your objectives were, what your goals were, different types of missions. They seem to really go far in having, some hilarious zany fun with it that was filled with a bit of heart, B, really gut-wrenching type intense dramatic moments, and then C, your regular typical sort of things. Like, keep in mind, like, this is Far Cry. This is the most Far Cry game there is, right? Like, it's just Far Cry, but bigger. It's like Far Cry on steroids. And I keep saying that, but I'm trying to hammer in the point that this is very likely, if you've played this franchise before, you're knowing 100% what to expect. They don't really deviate too much from the formula. This is the experience that you should be expecting. If you're new to the series, great. You get an absolutely massive action-packed joyride that's adrenaline-filled and just nuts. Like, it really is crazy. Like, absolutely crazy what they, kind of did with this one. The wild action you can have, the fun that's present here. Is this going to work out, or am I going to have some issues with this? Yeah, this is a bad idea. Anyways, it's kind of crazy stuff like that makes this game really entertaining, because any crazy sort of thing can happen. And if you're like a completionist, yeah, good luck with this one, because there is a lot to do in this game and a lot to see. And it is absolutely wild the whole way through. Like, I'm just casually blowing stuff up as I'm like, talking and doing this like mission review and everything like that, and it's kind of wild. But yeah, you got your structured missions, you got your more side activities, and you're not really forced to do anything. You can go through the different areas and kind of like I mentioned, level up to a degree almost, but not, because it just like opens up more opportunities for you having more tasks and things you can do. And it's just kind of neat, the non-linear way that you can end up, potentially going through a more deeper part of the game while not necessarily checking out other areas of it. And I think that was well done, because it really does kind of feel endless at times, and that might feel overwhelming for some people, and that's totally cool, right? Like, that's why we have variety and stuff. It's really, really neat. But yeah, I love the visuals of this place. It seems like nighttime's a little bit long, but for the most part, it actually is quite a cool thing to do. And there's so many cool like creatures in that you can interact with on your adventure to save this land and have a really good time while doing so. It's a lot of fun. Let's go back to the guerrilla camp, because there's some aspects I still want to show and talk about. And one of those is going to be co-op. So you can play the entire experience with a pal. It's cooperative, you know, that's kind of something I expect from the Far Cry series. Your progression will carry over between where you play, and I think that's really great that that is present here. You can also explore these new mission types with other people. So you can go to these really unique sort of strike missions, and these are new battle scenarios where you kind of go and do an objective. For example, you have to go collect this like hard drive thing, and you have to like keep pouring water on it to cool it down. You can do it solo too, those missions. You don't have to play with others. You know, it's completely optional to play in co-op, but it is something that is present within the game, and it's something I thought, of course, I should mention because it's a new area where I think long term they're going to add more content there to keep people kind of going on that one. So it's kind of intriguing. And then over here we've got this neat, oh, not this guy again, sorry. We've got a foreman, so there's a bit of base building, so we can kind of go here. We can build stuff, upgrade stuff, and it gives you kind of different options. So we got something like this. And I did honestly do a first cut of this video. So there was like a bunch of hideout locations that I was able to like purchase off of this guy. And then there's things like, you know, we got a cooking thing, so we can take some meat and we can cook it, you know, and stuff like that. We don't have any meat particularly on us. I don't think that we can actually cook with. But it was just an example that I was kind of wanting to show off, is you can do a little bit of base building stuff. And then there's horses. I think the horses are fantastic. You know, it's actually kind of a neat system, a way of like traversing around the environment is just doing everything on horseback, which is kind of fun, and it just kind of gives you you know, more intense kind of way of going through things. And that's how you start too. You kind of go on your horse, and you can steal vehicles, and you can hijack stuff, and cause explosions, and smash things, and yeah. I mean, that's basically Far Cry, right? Big booms, crazy action, flying through the air, flying in helicopters, flying in planes, driving stuff, fighting others, liberating landscapes, and having a great time while doing so. It really is just wild. And it, you know, there's the traversal elements where you can kind of like grapple up and climb places, and you can go underwater in caves, and you can take over trucks, smash positions, free landscapes, and it really is just wild, all of the different things and activities that you can do. Like I said, it feels almost too endless. I think some people are going to love that. Some people are going to be like, wow, this is a bit big. For me, I was kind of like, huh, that is definitely some more Far Cry. So either this will be something that you want to see and you want to take part in, or you're going to be like, well, you know, there's been so many Far Cry experiences. I don't know. I think it's fun. Oh, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to do that, my friend. Freedom fighters forever, am I right? Yeah. It's just crazy. So many tools, so many things to interact with, and just like an epic sort of expansion upon just the landmass. Like the sheer scale of this place is just mind-blowing. I focused on that so much, but I am seriously just like overwhelmed even thinking about like the different places you can go and the things you can gather and the wild fun you can have. And again, I just like how the story elements kind of went. I thought that was really cool how they kind of played into that a bit more, you know, kind of having something that did also feel a bit mature gameplay wise. And the sidestepping thing is awesome. Did we show off the yeah, we did earlier, didn't we? But it's a pretty cool toy. I almost died, but the healing stuff is hilarious as well. And we showed off the fishing, we showed off the different things you can do for the guns and the weapons and the tools, and you know, you got Molotov, and you got baseball bats. And the enemies also sort of evolve too. So as you continue to kind of unleash on different areas, you get more and more higher tiered enemies that you have to fight and deal with along the way. And I think that's kind of exciting as well, but I think they've put together a very impressive world. I didn't have any real issues like performance or anything like that. It all ran, you know, really well. I didn't have any like real campaign issues or anything like that, no setting problems. And it just feels big, and it feels exciting, and it's Far Cry, you know? Like, I don't really know what else to really say about that other than the experience is snappy, it's quick, it is surprising, but it is also treading very much on something that is familiar and something that you will feel right at home with, or potentially be like, well, I've done this many times before. And it's really going to come down to your interest in this latest entry. And for me, it was a lot of fun. It was a great time. And I guess there's probably going to be a lot more for me to do with it as they continue to add stuff to it and continue to have fun with some of the crazy elements of what's present here.